Hello, and in this video I want to do a very brief introduction to IPFS. So we'll get started here. IPFS is the Interplanetary File System. It's a hypermedia protocol similar to HTTP. In fact, IPFS intends to someday replace HTTP. A very bold goal, but it might be possible. HTTP and IPFS are protocols for transferring files from a client to a server. No, sorry. The reverse of that. From a server to a client over the internet. These files could be anything from text files to video files. When you browse the web, you're using HTTP to download HTML files from servers all over the world. It's kind of a generalized example, but it works really well. So, there's a server in New York. I'm downloading the HTML file of their website and my computer here in Seattle, and I use HTTP to do that. The advantage of using IPFS is data immutability and speed. So data immutability is, files on IPFS are given you generate a hash for files when you put them on IPFS. This hash is kind of a fingerprint for the file. If you're familiar with hashes, you give the hash function a value or a file, and it prints out some data. So here's a fingerprint basically. So here's the Wikipedia logo. It's an SVG as an IPFS hash of this huge long thing. If you're familiar with hashes, it's kind of the way it is. You get these really long strings, and they're very long and unique. It'd be almost impossible for two files to have the same hash. Hash values are the same for the same file. So if you took this same file and you were to hash it, you'd get this long thing. And if I did it, I get the same long thing. And if we changed a single bit in this image, that hash value would change. Yeah, there we go. That's the last bullet point. Hash values will change if the file is changed. These hash values act as addresses. Using the address, you can access the file, and nobody can change the file without changing the address. Because remember, if you change even just like 1 byte in that file, the hash will change. Therefore, the address will change. That's how you achieve the immutability with the system. It also helps us deduplicate data. So an example would be like if I put like the latest version of jQuery on IPFS, and then you did the same thing. We wouldn't be duplicating data. Like if we did upload both the same exact files, they would have the same address. So you're kind of stopping duplication of data over a lot of different servers, kind of. So let's go into the speed and resilience. So we've covered the mutability. You really can't change the files once they're up there. They're up there, which is advantages and disadvantages. So traditionally HTTP follows the simple client server model. A computer in Seattle requests a file from a computer in New York City. This can be slow and reliable for a number of reasons. So some examples are New York is far away. It's far away from Seattle. It just takes longer to communicate because of distance. Even at the speed of light, it still takes a little bit longer. If I have a computer that is a server that if I'm communicating with a server in Redmond, all things being equal other than distance, of course, the one in Redmond is going to be faster for me here in Seattle than the one in New York. If everything's equal, just because the speed of light is a constant, there could be lots and lots of clients asking for the same file on that server in New York. We see this like with denial of service attacks, or just like, does anybody still talk about this? Like back in the day, we used to talk about like sites getting slash-dotted, or there'd be like the Reddit effect where like, you'd have a site and then become very popular and just millions of people would come to you. It wasn't like they were being malicious, but they would just all be trying to go to your site of like funny cat videos, and then your server would crash, and then no one could see those files, and everyone would be frustrated. I don't really hear about that happening anymore, but back a few years ago, it was a big deal, and it is still a problem. The computer in here can only serve so many clients, right? Like if you were running a server, you could figure out through experience that, as things are set up right now, without any changes, there's kind of a maximum number of clients that I can serve with this computer. and maybe that number is good or maybe that number is bad, but there's going to be a threshold on that. Another thing that could make it slow or unreliable, this would be very slow, is if the computer in New York is just not turned on. You know, if that server you're trying to request a web page from, for example, was turned off, well, you're not going to get it. IPFS is a peer-to-peer protocol, somewhat similar to BitTorrent. When I download a file, when I download something from IPFS, I can start sharing it with other people. So maybe somebody else has also downloaded that file from that server in New York. Maybe somebody else downloaded that here in Seattle. I could just download it from them instead of having to contact the server in New York. If a file is very popular, then there's going to be lots and lots of people to share, right? Like if someone had, you know, some major pop artist, if they put their MP3 file out there, there's going to be lots and lots of people downloading and lots of people sharing it. And that's how it would work over IPFS. This takes a load off of that server in New York and distributes it amongst all of the peers. And you can be confident that no one tampered with it, right? Like if you are downloading these files from, you know, arbitrary people, you might be a little bit concerned about issues of integrity. Like maybe someone put some malicious code in there, or maybe someone did something bad to it, or maybe you're not getting the authentic thing. But because of immutability, you know you have that address. You know what the hash is going to be. You know no one can mess with it. Because if they messed with it, then the hash would change, the address would change. So you're all getting the same file. Working with IPFS, so we're going to do a quick little example so you can kind of see how it works. You need to go to the IPFS site here, ipfs.io. They'll have all the download and installation instructions. We won't cover them here because that's kind of beyond our scope in this little very brief introduction video. Okay, so before you can do anything, you got to initialize it. And then you're going to start the daemon. And the daemon is going to be just kind of running in the background. So you're going to probably want to run that in a separate terminal. So here is my legally required cat image. This is my cat. Her name is Mrs. She's a bit of a stinker, and occasionally she does like crawling into bags. So this is her crawling into a bag looking kind of sad. And she's on IPFS. So here I have my cat in a bag right here, and we're going to add it. So on one terminal, I have the daemon running. I have a new terminal, and I'm just going to simply say IPFS, add, and then that file. And it's going to give me this output. So this is actually the hash of my cat in a bag photo. So if I can share this, actually you should be able to do this right now, is if you were to put this into an IPFS gateway, you could download that picture of my cat. I don't know why you would, other than, I mean, maybe you like that cat a lot. I don't know. So you can see if you could put through a gateway, like I said, or you could actually just download the file, and you could do IPFS get, and then you just give it that hash, and it will download that file. Like I said, this was a very brief introduction. I just want to kind of get you the idea of how it works. I'll be doing probably a few more videos. So in conclusion, I say with the title, this is just a very brief introduction to IPFS. There's a lot more to learn. I've got some links here. They'll be in the video description below to learn more, and I'll also be producing some more videos. But hopefully you kind of get an idea of what IPFS is about, somewhat. So thank you for watching this video. If you like it, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos about IPFS or anything videos that I'm making, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, put those in the comments below. Thank you for watching.